So, you're probably wondering why I'm sitting on the floor next to a pile of gear. Well, I'm pissed because I bought all of this guitar gear from Guitar Center's used website, and all of it is going back. Here's why. All right, guys, hope you're doing great out there. Hope that you're doing better than I am. That's a little dramatic, but anyways, if this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take awesome high gain related guitar gear, I record it with a simple setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. But today's gonna be a little different. Today, I'm gonna do something that I really don't normally do and something that I don't like to do, and that's make a negative video. Because I am generally a positive person, I generally try to find the good in situations, and if there is something bad happening in my life or if there is something bad about a particular situation, I try to make the best of it and move on, because I find that life is just much easier that way. But to be honest, I am just incredibly fed up right now. I'm about to go full Karen on a guitar retailer, and I think that I have very, very good reason to do so. So if you have been following my channel for a while, you will know that I purchase a lot of items off Guitar Center's used website. And the reason that I purchase a lot of stuff off of Guitar Center's used website is because I often find really, really good deals on there. I'm not exactly sure when I figured this out, but it has to have been at least 5 years ago at this point. But at some point when I was shopping for used gear, I found a really good deal on Guitar Center's used website, and I was like, oh man, I didn't even realize that you could browse all of their used gear in one spot. That's awesome. So naturally, after I found that very good deal on that used piece of equipment, I kind of started going back to the well. I made it part of my daily routine to start browsing the used website in order to find the gear that I was looking for and try to find it at good deals. And guess what? I did, over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, I find good deals on there so often that I find myself browsing the website at least 2 times a day, looking for the next awesome deal on a used piece of equipment. But if you've been following me for a while, you will also know that I often make some pretty negative posts about Guitar Center's used website, mainly because I get damaged items from their website way more often than I should. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are gonna be like,
well, that's the fault of the carriers. They're the ones that are beating this equipment up on the way to you.
And I would say that you do have a really good point. As someone who ships a lot of equipment out after I am done using it, I pack stuff up and ship it constantly via UPS, and I very rarely have to deal with damage, but I do have to deal with damage. And that's because even if you pack stuff extremely well, which people who have bought stuff from me have come back to me just to say how well I pack stuff. And that's not, that's not me bragging, that's me telling you that like, I know what I'm doing when it comes to packing stuff to be shipped via UPS, because I know that these carriers are going to abuse the packages, especially if they're heavy. I think this is pretty much a well-known fact at this point that UPS drivers, UPS carriers are not very nice to the stuff that they ship. But I tell you this because knowing how things should be packed in order to secure a safe transit from me to the new owner of the gear, I can tell you that Guitar Center's operations managers generally have absolutely no idea what they're doing. So this entire pile of gear sitting next to me is all stuff that I have bought within the last, I would say about a month, except for this guitar here, and I'll get to this guitar here in a moment. But these are all items that either A, came not as described, B, came with something that was missing, or C, came almost destroyed or very badly damaged due to poor packaging. So what I'm often seeing when I get stuff from Guitar Center is they just don't have adequate packing materials in order to secure the items in the boxes. And that is the number one thing when you are shipping a bass, a guitar amp, The main thing is you want that piece of equipment to be secure in the box. When you shake that box, you should feel nothing at all moving around inside that box. And that's gonna indicate to you that the item is packed well enough on all sides that it's not gonna move around inside the box. Now, why is that important? Well, when UPS picks up your guitar amp and body slams it onto the conveyor and drop kicks it off the back of their truck to put it on your porch, if that item is not able to move around inside of the packing material inside of the box, that means the packing material and the box are taking most of that impact. But if your amp or your guitar is moving around inside the box, well, guess what? Momentum takes over. So when that UPS driver takes your item and they pick it up and they throw it onto the conveyor belt or they throw it into the back of the truck, well, momentum's taking over and that item's gonna move one way, and then when it hits, it's gonna move the other way. And what often happens is when it moves the other way, there's enough force behind that movement to break something. So that's what I see the most often. Now, sometimes Guitar Center will pack stuff reasonably well, like this triple rectifier up here, for example. It had a few layers of bubble wrap wrapped around it. And you would think, well, that's good, right? It's got like an inch and a half of packing around it. Well, no, that doesn't really matter all that much, because inside the box, the amp in that bubble wrap was still flapping around inside the box with nothing else around it protecting it. So when I opened up the box for this triple rectifier, the chassis had literally worked itself loose, the screws were hanging out of the bottom of the amplifier, and the amp was able to move around inside the head shell. And on top of that, inside of the amp, Mesa uses these plastic clips in order to secure a metal tube guard. Well, all four of those plastic clips were broken, because what probably happened is that amp flapped around inside the chassis or inside the head shell so much that that metal grate ended up making contact with the head shell at some point and snapping all of those plastic clips. So now luckily that amplifier, I turned it on, it works, it sounds as it should, it sounds awesome, and everything, all the functions on it work just fine, so that's good. But now if I ever go to sell this amplifier, I have to disclose that all of those plastic clips are broken, or I have to replace them in order for the amp to basically be as it should be in good condition when I sell it. Now on top of that, onto the subject of items missing, well, this was supposed to come with the foot switch. It was literally listed in the description of the listing on Guitar Center's website. It said, foot switch included. Well, guess what? No foot switch came in the box. And you might think that, not a big deal, right? Just call up Guitar Center and have them ship the foot switch. Well, yeah, sometimes that's what happens. Other times you call and the employee that picks up the phone has absolutely no idea about the order, about the item, what was supposed to come with it. And when you ask them to look into it, it sounds like you're making them do something for you that they swore that they would never do in their lifetime. Because half the time, I would say more than half the time, when I call Guitar Center stores, the person that I'm speaking to just treats me like an absolute burden. Now, this is not everybody, guys. I don't want to make this massive generalization that everybody who works at Guitar Center sucks, every Guitar Center store sucks. That is not it at all. I have had so many good experiences with Guitar Center. So many. I mean, if every experience was bad, I wouldn't buy from them. I wouldn't even bother. But I've had lots of good experiences where when I call the store, the people sound like they're happy to talk to me, and whatever I'm asking them to do doesn't sound like an absolute burden when I make them do their job, essentially, which is, you know, check on the equipment that they took in and make sure that things are right with them, or ask me, or have them give me details. Oh my God, I'm falling apart. Or have them give me details about an item that I'm looking to purchase. There have been a lot of people who I've talked to who, you know, if you're one of those people and I've talked to you on the phone at Guitar Center before and you've helped me out, thank you very, very much. And I think I always try to make that obvious, that I appreciate when people are helpful to me when I call into these stores, because I really do appreciate it. It's nice to call a store and not feel like a burden when you're trying to give them your money for an item that they're selling. I think that's how it should be. But most of the time, that's just not what happens, unfortunately. And it's gotten to the point where I just don't even want to call. I don't want to call. I would rather take my stuff back to my local Guitar Center here in Erie and return it, because they don't give me a hard time. Like, everybody that I've returned stuff to there has been super, super cool to me. They don't ask me a bunch of questions. They don't accuse me of lying about any of the equipment. they know that I'm legit because they can see that I have 50 some pages of purchase history on the Guitar Center's website when they look up my account. But even if that wasn't the case, I mean, I don't think that they would give me a hard time because they're just genuinely nice people who are happy to be helping someone. But for the longest time, I used to buy used cabs off Guitar Center's website all the time, and I would call and have them make sure that the speakers in it were the speakers that were supposed to come in the guitar cab. And so many times I called and they were supposed to call me back, never did, or I called them and they basically told me that they don't do that. Like straight up, they told me they don't do that, which I know that that's not true because I have talked to Guitar Center store managers who say, yeah, no, we're supposed to check the speakers when they come in to make sure that they're the speakers that come in those cabinets, especially when they're the more expensive cabinets like Mesa cabs. And it turned into so much of a hassle just to do that simple thing that I stopped calling. I just started taking the chance and have them ship the cab to me. And when it arrived, if something was wrong with it, I just take it back and return it and get my full money back, including the shipping. Because a lot of people don't know this, but if you order something from Guitar Center's website and it's not as described or it comes broken, when you return it, they're supposed to give you your shipping back. They're supposed to give you a full refund, shipping included. Now, almost every time that I've returned to a store other than the Erie Guitar Center, I kind of have to fight them on that to give me my shipping back, which is ridiculous because why should I pay shipping on an item that was not as described, that I wouldn't have purchased in the first place if I had known all the details about it, or arrived broken because it was packed poorly? Why should I as the customer be penalized for that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And in the case of something not being as described, take for instance this JCM 900 here in this pile of amps that I have to drag up to Guitar Center with me today. This JCM 900 was listed as JCM 900 50 watt tube amplifier. Nowhere in the description, even though it's clearly listed on the back of this amplifier, did it mention that the 16 ohm tap doesn't work for the cabs. When I got the amp in, the first thing I noticed when I looked at the back of it is they had 16 ohm crossed out. And in marker, they wrote 8 or 4 only. That wasn't listed on the website, and I like to use my Marshalls with 16 ohm cabs because they're designed around 16 ohm speakers and generally that's what they sound good with. So upon seeing that, I'm like, okay, what else has been changed about this thing? So I open it up and lo and behold, there's all sorts of scribblings inside the chassis of all the mods that have been made to this amplifier. None of that was disclosed because I guarantee you when they took it in, nobody looked at that stuff. And me buying an amplifier, that's important to know. Now here's the thing with that, and I actually got into somewhat of an argument with somebody on my Facebook friends list who is a store manager at Guitar Center. And I think we both kind of saw eye to eye after a little bit, but basically the reason that these employees are undertrained and these items are underpacked is because Guitar Center doesn't allow the schedule in order to properly train and properly staff their employees in their store. And they also don't allow for a budget to buy proper packing materials for shipping their used items. They literally just use whatever secondhand materials that they have. In one case, I ordered a Dietzel VH2, a $3,000 amplifier from their used section. And it came thrown in a box that was probably 3 times too big for it. It was loose inside the box and they literally had plastic bags, they had like wrappers, they had old empty cardboard boxes in there just trying to take up space. Like this amp was not properly packed whatsoever, and I'm absolutely amazed that it didn't get damaged and that it works as it should. I was so amazed, in fact, that I made a YouTube short about it, basically saying, you know, why does Guitar Center hate me? And then showing the amp inside, or showing the box that the amp came in, which is clearly big enough for a 4x12 cabinet, and all the garbage that came inside the box as packing material. Now, I've spoken to a few people who work at Guitar Center, and in fact, somebody who's a good friend of mine who takes care of me anytime these issues arise, Matt, who is the manager at the North Olmsted location of Guitar Center. Matt always takes care of me whenever I have an issue, and I am forever grateful to Matt, and more Guitar Center employees should be like Matt because he is an outstanding customer service man. But the people that I've talked to within the Guitar Center organization all kind of tell me the same thing, that they don't have enough staffing hours to have enough people there to properly pack these things as well as handle customers. And they don't have a budget for used packing materials, so that when they ship this used stuff out, they basically are just reusing materials that came in with other new items and stuff that they save, and just kind of finding whatever they can get their hands on to pack this stuff. So the last item I want to show you is this Epiphone Les Paul Custom, which as you can see now is a husk because I have turned this into a project guitar. And you're probably wondering why. Well, the top of this guitar is nice and shiny now because I spent an hour and a half of my own time buffing this out for a video project that I am doing that my friends over at Sweetwater are helping me with. But the reason that this is a project guitar to begin with is when it shipped to me, the entire guitar looked like this. Somebody had taken rough sandpaper to the entire body, to the neck, to the sides, and to the front of the guitar, including the headstock, in order to give it a more matte appearance, I'm guessing, like to take the shine off of the guitar. Well, when I bought this guitar, it was listed as good condition on Guitar Center's website and made absolutely no mention of the fact that the entire finish had been completely marred by rough sandpaper and looked absolutely terrible. And of course, the pictures are so bad that they put on the Guitar Center's website, if they put any pictures at all, that I couldn't tell. So I ordered it and figured, you know what? If it shows up with an issue, I'll either return it or I'll get some sort of partial refund for the guitar. Well, guess what? Showed up with an issue. I was able to work out a partial refund that I was happy with on this guitar, and I'm turning it into a project video. So it worked out for me, but 99% of the people who bought this guitar from Guitar Center would have returned it, and then Guitar Center would have been on hook for shipping, and then they probably would have put it back up on their website without any additional description, resold it again. And I've seen items literally get sold and get relisted on Guitar Center's website 5-6 times. It'll keep popping up in my daily searches, and I'm like, well, it's at a new location, somebody else bought it, and just, you know, Guitar Center never bothered to disclose the issue with it, and they kept selling it, and they kept having it returned, and they probably had to keep eating the shipping on that item over and over again. And I don't know, man, it just, the whole cycle makes absolutely no sense to me. But yeah, this was not a structured video. I didn't really have an idea for this video when I came in. I just kind of started stacking up all the stuff that I need to haul to my Guitar Center for a return, and I just got really angry. And that triple rectifier came in today, and that was kind of the last straw. I'm like, I've had so many items that I've been after for my own personal collection that are hard to find, and I buy them from Guitar Center's website, and then they show up either A, not as described, or B, damaged due to poor packing. And it's just a really frustrating thing to deal with. People ask me all the time, why do you still buy from Guitar Center's website when you have so many issues? And it's because most of the time I am able to get the item without an issue. I get a good deal and I'm happy. So please don't take this as me saying every time I buy from Guitar Center, something arrives broken or not as described. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying though is, it happens far too often, and it can be avoided with just a little bit more work. And I'm not necessarily blaming the Guitar Center employees that are on the floor doing this stuff. I'm blaming the corporate entity that is Guitar Center for not budgeting for proper packing materials, for not allowing enough hours for there to be enough employees to have time to properly pack these things. And on top of all that, they're probably not paying their employees much at all. And I can't say that I blame these guys for not being motivated enough, because when you work a job where you're understaffed and you're underfunded and you're underpaid, well, that's just a recipe for low morale and just not caring about a job in general. And I can't say that I blame them one bit. And honestly, I feel for you guys. So please don't take this as me beating up on you as the Guitar Center employee, if that's who you are. Know that my beef lies with your corporation, the corporate entity that is Guitar Center. So yeah, that's my rant for the day. That's me going full Karen on you guys. I apologize, but just wanted to kind of make a video airing some of my grievances, especially because a lot of people ask me why I buy from Guitar Center if I encounter problems so often. I try to make it a point to make posts about when things do come from Guitar Center that are great finds or are packed really, really well. So it's not just me highlighting the damaged stuff on my Facebook and on my Instagram. I try to highlight the good as much as I highlight the bad. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of bad, and it's very frustrating, and it results in extra work for me. And you know, luckily Guitar Center always takes care of me when I return stuff, but it's still a frustrating process. So yeah, If you guys have similar experience, let me know down in the comments. And again, if this is your first time here at my channel, this is not normally what I do. I normally am a positive person who likes to just check out new guitar gear and share the experience with you guys. So this is not normally what my channel consists of, so don't think I'm out here creating clickbait content and hating on stores and employees just to get views, because that's not me. But yeah, whatever your experiences have been, leave them down below in the comments. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.